Now, Senator Naughton, please.
Thank you, and I too would welcome Minister Flanagan to the House where this issue was first raised, and I thank him for attending today. In fairness to the Minister, he has from the outset expressed a willingness to deal with this issue from the moment he became aware of it, and I greatly welcome the establishment of a statutory commission of inquiry. That was the right and proper course to take. The treatment and neglect of children in mother and baby homes has been known and the subject of criticism for many years. There are parliamentary debates, health board reports, newspaper articles and local knowledge going back to the 1930s. Some of the parliamentary debates, both from the knowledge exposed and the language used, would make your hair stand on end. We really did not care for these children at all. It both saddens and annoys me that we as a community, political and civil society, we only agitate for action when a shocking episode such as the allegations in Tuam come to light and they then belatedly receive international media attention. It is a truism that sweeping secrets under the carpet only makes them fester into a scandal. When the comely maidens were dancing at the crossroads, thousands of unmarried mothers were dancing into institutions and homes and their children towards their early deaths. Nobody in this House can afford to be political on this issue. This shameful past is all of ours, every one of us, alive or dead. We know a member of our party, a member of our family, a friend or neighbour that has come in some way to be complicit in such happenings, either through act or omission. This shameful social history was much directed by the Church and wilfully followed and sometimes even exceeded by the political establishment and citizens. We in these houses of the Oireachtas are all too familiar with examples of the blocking, directly or indirectly, of important social policy to the great detriment of our citizens. It was also, of course, accepted by the citizens, no matter how harsh the consequences. The Mother and Child scheme is an obvious example. The pious and unforgiving politics of it is still within living memory. As late as 1970, when Brendan Corish introduced the Unmarried Mothers Allowance Scheme, he was castigated by his fellow parliamentarians as creating a licence for fornication. Whilst awaiting the outcome of pending investigations, I will not comment further on the specifics of the Tuam allegations. It's incumbent on us to reflect on the condition endured in mother and baby homes. In general, it would seem that the mortality rate for what were termed illegitimate children were much higher than what was the norm even at those times, with the rate for those incarcerated in mother and baby homes even higher. Some have postulated that in one home the mortality rate was as high as 50%. In any event, it is simply not true to say that, as some are, that all children were malnourished at the time, given the relative rates of poverty, that these children were no worse off than others, and that is simply not true. The simple fact of it is that all the research done to date shows it can illustrate that being born into one of these homes shortened a child's lifespan significantly. The religious undertook a duty of care of these children. They had a duty to protect and care for them. They were acting as effective agents of the state, who also failed them. Church and state failed. We are told that the cause of death of some of those 796 children was malnutrition. How many Bon Secours nuns died of malnutrition in Tuam from 1925 to 1961? How many town councillors and national politicians who complained about the cost of those incarcerated there died of malnutrition? An additional matter was raised in the repeat of the primetime programme on Monday last. That is the issue of the conducting of drug trials on people in such homes and orphanages or other state institutions without the consent of those involved, and seemingly with the connivance of the state at the time. There seems to be much documentation in existence on that issue, and I note the promise of the drugs company to cooperate. I am very pleased that this matter is to be investigated. Thirdly and finally, there is the issue of the alleged forced adoption in America, to America and elsewhere of our citizens. And it is suggested to adoptive parents already considered unsuitable by their respective authorities. Again, it is good that this matter has been finally investigated. If the Minister would, as I finish, perhaps consider a constructive suggestion. This inquiry seems to have three distinct elements: the treatment in homes and the disposal of the bodies of the children involved. Secondly, the issue of medical research and drug trials. And thirdly, the issue of forced adoptions. I wonder, would the Minister give consideration to having three separate inquiries, each headed by a different individual with a separate staff? I think, being frank, that the numbers and the nature of the allegations are possibly too vast for any one inquiry team or head to consider in any meaningful way or time frame. Perhaps it could be done, but it could not be done, but maybe the Minister would consider it if he has not already done so. And whilst I cannot say that I look forward to the results of this inquiry, as I think the findings may well be horrific, I thank the Minister again for coming to the House and for dealing with this matter in the speedy way in which he has. Thank you.